Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We explore the darkest, most chilling real-life horror stories from across the world. In tonight's story, we follow a couple on what should have been a simple road trip across the US. But deep in the Appalachian Mountains, they crossed paths with something far worse than any urban legend, a group of people who do not want you to leave their land alive. Being chased through pitch-black forests, hunted on empty roads with no cell service, this is the kind of nightmare that makes you think twice before taking that next scenic drive. Stay tuned and remember, not all cults wear robes. Some drive pickup trucks. Viewer discretion is advised. This happened in the summer of 2017. My girlfriend and I are from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. We both attended university there and decided to take a road trip through the United States to celebrate our graduation. Our destination was Miami, Florida. Our family owns a condo near the beach, so we had a free place to stay. We decided to drive instead of flying because we wanted to see a bit of the country on the way down and visit a few friends. The trip usually takes about 20 to 24 hours by car non-stop, and we were planning on making multiple stops. The first part of the road trip was a wonderful experience. We went shopping in Buffalo, then made our way down to Pittsburgh and managed to catch a Pirates game. However, once we hit West Virginia, things changed. It was nothing but endless wilderness and a few small towns sprinkled in between. We had plans to meet up with some friends for dinner in Charlotte, North Carolina, so we wanted to get through West Virginia ASAP. We only made stops when we absolutely had to. We ended up stopping for gas at a pretty remote spot. My girlfriend and I got out of the car. I started pumping gas, and she went inside to use the washroom and pick up some snacks. My tank was about half full when I heard a voice behind me ask, "Y'all lost?" I looked behind me and I saw a middle-aged white man with long, messy brown hair that reached down to his shoulders and an unkempt beard with dashes of grays and what looked to be drops of dried-up mucus. His clothes were torn up and dirty, and he smelled like a mixture of beer, sweat, pee, and feces. He was a little overweight but pretty tall. I'm 6'0" and he was about 4 inches taller than me. The teeth he still had left were a yellowish brown. On his right cheek, just under his eye, was a tattoo of some kind of pentagram. I'm pretty into YouTube videos about true crime and cults, so I was able to recognize what it was pretty quickly. He was standing very close to my face, to the point where the smell of his breath was making me dizzy, so I backed up. I remember thinking maybe he was drunk or on something stronger. His pupils were slightly dilated, and he kept swaying a little on his feet. "No, sir, just passing through," I said nervously. "Not too often we see tourists passing through these parts," he responded. "Where you headed?" As he said this, he moved even closer than he was before. I had my back up against my car and I couldn't move back any further. I wanted to get away from this guy as quickly as possible, but the car was still filling up with gas and my girlfriend was still inside the gas station. I didn't want this dude to know where we were really going, so I told him I was visiting family in Kentucky and they were expecting us. After I said this, he cracked a weird half smile, opening his mouth just wide enough for me to get a look at his teeth again. I'll never forget that face. His bloodshot eyes were staring deep into my soul. He let out a weird and sinister laugh. "How lovely," he said. "I'll see you kids around." Then he walked away. I was very relieved that he walked away, but also terrified by his last remarks. I didn't even see him when we pulled up to the gas station, so how did he know I wasn't alone? I figured he must have been watching my girlfriend and I when we arrived. The car was finally filled up, and I saw my girlfriend walking toward the car with bags full of snacks for the road. I noticed the weird guy was still at the gas station. He was a few pumps away from us, leaning up against an old red pickup truck, but to my utter discomfort, he wasn't alone. There were 2 other men, and 1 woman with him, making the group 4 in total. The 2 men were just as big as he was, but they had shaved heads. One of them was wearing a dirty white tank top and the other had no shirt on at all. The woman was shorter, about 5'5". She was very skinny with heavy bags under her eyes and long blonde hair. They all looked like they'd been living in the woods for the past 10 years. They were staring and pointing at us, talking amongst themselves. At first, I told myself maybe we were just 2 strangers in a small town and stood out. But then, I noticed they weren't just glancing, they were watching. Intently. As soon as my girlfriend got to the car, I urgently told her to get in. I'm usually a pretty calm guy, so when my girlfriend noticed I was kind of freaking out, she knew something was up. We quickly entered the car, I locked the doors, and I began hauling ass out of the gas station. As we pulled around their red truck to the exit, I noticed there was another pentagram painted on the hood. I also noticed the skull of a goat or ram on their windshield. The four people began getting into their truck as they saw us leaving. I knew they were going to follow us as soon as we left. I explained the situation to my girlfriend as we were speeding away from the gas station. We were zooming down the road and I looked in my rearview mirror. As I expected, the red truck was right behind us. I sped up even more and they did too. I made a left, they did too. I made a full U-turn and they did as well. My girlfriend managed to get reception and dialed 911. We gave the operator our location and they gave us directions to the nearest police station. The operator also asked for the license plate, but the truck didn't have any. Once we were off the phone with them, my girlfriend stuck her cell phone outside of the window and started pointing to it, letting the creeps know we called the police. They finally got the message and stopped following us. We arrived at the police station and filed a report. We gave them the description of the truck and suspects. The investigators said they would call us if they had any more information. The officer told us they had heard of similar complaints in the past. Travelers getting harassed on these back roads, but without license plates or clear IDs, it was hard to act. We were extremely shaken, but also relieved. All we wanted to do at that point was get hell out of West Virginia. We thought we had shaken the group for good, but unfortunately, we were wrong. We decided to drive through the night to cover as much ground as possible. The area of Appalachia we were in had no streetlights, and I could only see what my headlights allowed me to see. Everything was fine until I noticed two headlights in my rearview mirror. At first, I didn't think anything about it, but I kept an eye on them. We had taken several random turns out of town and thought we'd lost them. That's why when I saw the same headlights again, my stomach dropped. It meant they knew exactly where to find us. The headlights got closer and closer until they were tailgating us. To my complete shock and horror, it was the same red truck from the gas station. These people had somehow found us again and were right behind us. "It's them!" I yelled. My girlfriend began to freak out and dialed 911. I floored the gas pedal, not even knowing what was 10 meters in front of me. All we cared about was escaping. We got a mile up the road until my girlfriend yelled, "Watch out!" There were 3 dead cows blocking the narrow road. I slammed on the brakes. To this day, I still don't know if those cows were already there. Roadkill isn't rare in this area, or if someone had dragged them to block us. Either way, the timing was too perfect. The red truck was right behind us and we couldn't go forward. We knew we had fallen into a trap. All of a sudden, a naked man wearing a goat mask darted from out of the woods and began hitting our car with what looked like a large axe. I honestly can't tell you if he was fully naked. It was dark and chaotic, but he wore a crude goat mask and swung something heavy at our hood. The naked man got on the hood of our car and started making sheep noises. My girlfriend was still on the phone with 911, but all she could do was scream. The people behind us got out of the red truck and began walking toward our car. 2 of them had rifles and 1 of them had a large machete. I knew what I had to do. I put the car in reverse and floored it. The naked man fell off our car. We smashed into the truck and I managed to knock it into a ditch. After the truck was out of the way, I pulled the fastest U-turn of my life and we got out of there. The people were yelling all kinds of obscenities at us as we drove away. I drove as fast as I could away from these people until we finally arrived in a town and filed another police report. My girlfriend and I were uninjured, thankfully, but we were extremely traumatized. The car was still drivable after that, so we were able to get the fuck out of West Virginia the next morning. This entire experience made my girlfriend and I scared to do any more road trips. I still call the local police department in West Virginia once in a while to see if they have any leads on these people, but so far they have not found anything. One of the officers told me off the record there are parts of those mountains where people live almost completely off-grid and law enforcement can't always reach them easily. The fact that these people were able to find us after we went to the police station and drove far away still scares and baffles me to this day. Who knows what kind of sick and twisted things this cult had planned if they managed to catch us. Stay safe out there, everyone. To this day, I still get chills whenever I think back to that night. It makes me wonder just how close we came to never making it out of those mountains. Have you ever experienced anything similar? Or do you know anyone who has? As always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I may not be able to reply to everyone, but I do read them all. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, sometimes it's not the myths or monsters you need to fear, but the people you meet along the way. Stay safe out there, everyone.